Today we're breaking down what astrology actually is beyond just your daily horoscope, and how two people can create a whole new astrological chart stemming from their relationship.
For generations, women were shamed for trusting themselves, sensing things before they happen, and believing in their own power. No one encouraged them to embrace it until now. Welcome to Trust Yourself.
Hi, I'm Elise, but my sister calls me Sissy.
And I'm her sister, Heidi.
Happy New Year, 2026!
Let's hope it's a good one.
I hope so. 2025 was kind of, it was a lot.
You know, it was a lot. It was a collective 9-year. We released a lot of things. We're ready to go into this brand new beginning.
Yes, and we've got a lot that's coming towards us astrologically, apparently.
Sounds like it.
So today we are joined by astrologer Suzy Berry. She is the founder of Saturn Stone Astrology. She is not only an astrologer, she's also a relationship synastry specialist known for her work interpreting interpersonal dynamics through astrological compatibility charts. And if you don't know what that means, please don't feel bad, because neither did I until today.
But keep listening, because we'll tell you.
It is so fascinating, and
Incredibly.
It's really a way to look deeper into people's relationships and how we are compatible in what areas, beyond just saying like, oh, I'm a Scorpio and my husband's a Virgo and sometimes we clash. No, It's way deeper than that.
It's way more complicated in like all the best ways.
Yeah. Suzy uses astrology as a tool for deep self-awareness, and where she really shines is when she starts to overlay those two individual birth charts to create a single chart for the relationship itself. That chart reveals chemistry, conflict patterns, communication styles. It takes, quote unquote, are we compatible, to a whole new level of understanding.
Yes.
And I think astrology has had a major resurgence right now because not a lot of people want just predictions. They're craving clarity and self-trust, especially in relationships, and their own self-trust. And I feel like we're in an era where healing and attachment styles, boundaries, emotional intelligence are everyday conversations. At least for you and I, they are.
Yes. For the awakening.
Hello. Because this episode is dropping at the start of the brand new year, we are also going to zoom out to the major collective and explore what the astrological calendar says about this year. So get ready for that.
Buckle up.
It's not all bad, I promise.
No.
So whether you're new to astrology or completely obsessed with it, I think in this episode, there's really something for everyone here. And if anything, it's just super fun.
Yeah.
So without further ado, let's bring Suzy into the conversation. Hi, Suzy. Thank you so much for joining us today. We're really excited to have you here.
Oh, I'm so excited. Just talking about astrology, but then talking to people who get astrology, it's like perfect fit.
Yay.
Yes.
Well, it's probably more Heidi that gets it. I'm still like astrology 101 level.
That's okay. That's okay.
I'm like astrology 102 level.
Okay.
So don't even like, I'm not that much farther ahead than you.
But that's why I'm also really excited to have this conversation today, because I would like to know more about it. And I know that you talk about it so well, Suzy. So we're excited to get your input on astrology in general, but also your thoughts on the astrological charts for couples, because I have actually never heard of this. So again, novice here, but I think we're all going to learn something new. So
I hope so
much.
Yeah.
So let's start with the basics. For anyone like me new to this, what is astrology really? Because for me, for the longest time, I thought it was just my main zodiac sign and whatever I read in the horoscope from the Sunday paper that was predicting my energy for the week. And all the other Scorpios were apparently in the same mood as me at that time.
Yeah. No, I hear you. So astrology is actually, if we go way back, it's like an ancient study. So, there were people back in the day, ancient civilizations looking at the stars, looking at the planets, and realizing that there was a connection between what was going on up there and what was going on down on the earth. So we can really thank them because they started it. So there's I would say there's two veins to astrology. You've got the astrology that controls events. So that's called sort of predictive astrology, which is kind of, a lot of people like that kind because it can tell you, you know, when's something going to happen, like what's the energy of like the year ahead or something like that. And then you've got astrology that's more psychological. So who am I? You know, what am I built on? Like, how do I tick? And how does my partner tick? And so you've kind of, it's kind of like two separate studies in a way, but you have to kind of get the basis of one in order to get the other. So that's the basic.
I still am like, okay, cool. I love stars. I love planets. This is awesome. How in the world are they affecting me depending on also like, okay, retrograde and not retrograde?
It's a whole thing. So I would say like, think of astrology like an onion. So like there's layers. So you got to start with layer one. Let's just talk about the planets.
Yes.
It's like, that's what we can see. That's what the ancient astrologers would see in the sky, as far as Saturn, at least. So they would see a planet and they would track it. And they would say, right, it's doing this. It appears to be in this zodiac sign at this time. And it takes X amount of years or months to go through it. And so every time it's here, it kind of does this. And every time it's here, it does something else. And so you apply that, that's planets. Then you've got signs, which are the constellations, the 12 zodiac constellations, where any of the planets can be at any time. And then on top of that, the third layer would be houses. So that's the way the sky is divided up. So if you're on Earth looking at the sky as a normal human, and you're just looking at the sky and you're trying to say, well, it's kind of over here, but then something's near the horizon. Like that would be the houses. If you drew an imaginary line, sort of like midday, you know, the sun's going to be at the very top above everyone at midday. And then you can sort of draw lines, and then there would be equal lines on the bottom, which would be the part of the sky you can't see. So below the horizon. Yeah. And then there's a fourth layer, which is actually aspects. So that's something where you can say, okay, so Saturn's over here and Mars is over here. At what angle? So then maths gets involved. What angle are they meeting each other from? So is it a kind of 90-degree angle? Is it a 180-degree angle? So that's all means something. So you've got the planet, the sign, the house, and aspects.
Okay, well, I think I got like the planets and the stars, and I'm like learning the houses, but the aspects are way above my pay grade.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I think a lot of people, when you look at a birth chart, so if anyone wants to, sort of go online and just type in free birth chart calculator, there's loads out there. And they will give you this circular wheel and it's divided up into 12. They're the houses, they're the 12 houses. And then you will see all these symbols around the edge. That'll be the planets, and then a little sign around the edge of that. That will be the sign. But then there will be all these kind of lines drawn all over the circle, sort of left to right, diagonal, sort of half square lines. And they're the aspects. So actually people look at the chart and they see the aspects first, I would argue, because the lines are jumping out of them, like, oh my God, what are all these lines? But actually, that's probably the last thing you learn. Yeah, because it's just that little level up. You've really got to understand what is the planet actually meaning to start with? Like, what does that planet even mean? Before you can start applying it to, well, how these planets are talking to each other. But you need to know what they're saying in the first place.
And this is why I love Suzy, because she can read that like a fucking book. Like completely. Yeah. She's done my reading. She's done Kent's reading. So I will here's my plug. Please go check out Suzy. I know we'll talk about it later too. But literally, you're amazing at this.
Thank you.
So everyone's astrology chart is based off of their exact birth date and time and where they're located. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah, that's correct. Okay. So you need the date, the exact time, if you're going to be precise as possible. And you need the birth city, birth town, because it can vary depending on where you are in the world.
How can the same planetary event or alignment affect two people completely differently?
Good question. So what you're referring to is it's two layers, again, nice layered astrology. So you've got what we call mundane astrology, which is what is going on in the sky as we talk, and it's affecting us all as a group, as a society, as countries in the world. And that just spills out into, if you turn the news on today, you will see certain news stories and it just spills out and it affects us all as a collective. So say Saturn is currently in Pisces, for example. So if you have a Pisces placement, a Pisces planet in your chart, you're going to be looking at Saturn right now because you're thinking, right, Saturn's in this sign. It's going to be making what we call a conjunction, which means it's on top of a planet potentially in your Pisces part of your chart. So that is then when you can say, right, so Saturn in Pisces may affect me more than someone who has no Pisces placements in their chart whatsoever. And so then it becomes very much more personal. So Saturn in Pisces affects everyone on a basic collective level. But, you know, some of us have lots of Pisces placements, some of us have one, some of us have none. So we're all going to be affected differently. That's a basic answer. I'm trying not to be too, you know.
That makes so much sense.
That makes sense. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, I'm sure you get asked this all the time, but what about twins who are born just a few minutes apart?
Yeah.
How do their lives usually turn out so differently?
I feel like every answer I give ends up being twofold. So I'm going to go, I keep saying it, but it's just so true. So I'm going to give you a twofold answer again.
Good.
So firstly, number one is that every zodiac sign, and, you know, as you know from the birth chart, we've got more than one sign, more than our star sign. We've got lots going on in there. So take the archetype of one of those signs. So let's say a Scorpio, for example. So let's take, you know, one side of Scorpio can be passionate, intense, a little bit obsessive, you know, like, and completely all or nothing energy. That's a big one for Scorpio. And then there's another side of Scorpio that can be, depending on the Scorpio, not talking personally, of course, is sort of jealousy can be a big thing. Possessiveness, where it tips into control. That can be a little bit element, like being in control all the time, either of yourself or of others. And so there's loads of different ways a Scorpio can come out in life. And it's not 2D, you know, like we're human, we have so many facets to us.
Yeah.
And so that sign, that archetype just encompasses all of it. Now, because we're human, I don't think we have the capacity to be all of it at once. Like that's a lot to be, especially when you think, you know, you might have Scorpio in your chart, you might have some Taurus in there, you might have some Cancer, you might have some Aquarius. Like it's a lot if you were to be everything that all those signs encompass. Mm-hmm. So what you'll find with twins, second point of my answer, is that a twin, say you're born at the exact same time, and either by birth mother, you know, where you literally come out at the exact same time or just minutes apart, or maybe you're born in the same hospital as another baby and you're born at the same time. You know, you're going to share a chart with like a time twin, you know, sort of thing. I've got that term from a great astrologer called Chris Brennan. I actually listened to his podcast this morning and he used it, time twin. I was like, that's brilliant. I love that.
Yes.
And he actually, I mean, his example was Charlie Chaplin and Adolf Hitler. And so he said they were born on the same day. So they have very similar charts. You know, all the planets were in the same place. The moon was in the same place. Okay, they might have had a different rising sign because they were probably born different countries, but very similar people. And they took a very different path in life. Very different. You know, I mean, if you're going to be friends with one of them, I'd probably pick Chaplin. You know, like out of the two. So he went on a bit of a journey with this as well. So with a twin, you're born fine, you've got the exact same stars, but in reality, you're your own person. You're going to, yes, grow up probably with the same parents in the same household, but as you grow, as you develop, you're going to start to find your own way within that sign. And when I say sign, I'm being very basic here, but as we know, there's loads of signs you can be in. But, you know, you're going to find your way. So one of you might sort of lean more toward that kind of all or nothing obsessive nature, if you're a Scorpio, for example. Yeah. And the other one might be a bit more like, I'm a little bit jealous of you, you know, like, and I'm just going to, and then they might sort of take on even more of the shadow side, perhaps.
Right.
So particularly what's interesting with twins is that you find that they're more similar when they're younger than they are when they get a little bit older. And I'm not saying super old, I mean like 7, 8 years old.
Okay.
Because that's actually when we start to develop out of our moon sign into our sun sign and all the other signs within our chart.
Oh, wow.
I'm taking notes because I have an almost 7-year-old. So I'm like, wait, she's in her moon
7 years
now.
Yeah. So I'm kind of going off, I hope you don't mind me going off tangent with this. So I know we're talking about twins, but I think it helps explain it as well. Yeah. So what we do is when we're born and as children, and this kind of links with psychology. I don't know if you've heard about the golden 7 years, like with child development, which is the first 7 years of a child's life are the most influential in who they're going to be, the patterns they acquire, their attachment styles when they're adults, how they're going to form relationships in adult life. And so that's really, it's a psychological thing, really. But you do see overlaps with psychology and astrology. It's wild. But so up to the age of 7, you are your moon sign, because your moon sign is your instinctual self. And if you ever look at a child, they are their instinctual selves.
Yes,
they are just, I'm hungry, I'm tired, I want to run like a maniac. I
don't want to do that.
Yeah, I'm not doing that. And they're just so honest, if you want honesty, ask a 6-year-old. They're not going to beat around the bush. They're just going to tell you straight. And unfortunately, what happens is that when we get to 7 or 8, we start to understand that there's people other than us that need things, so it's not just our needs. We, our mums, our fathers, our sisters, our brothers, our friends at school. And funny enough, that's actually the time we kind of start school, kindergarten as well. So we're starting to understand that our peers have needs and our teachers want us to do things and all this stuff. So we start to develop the ego. And the ego is something that the sun rules. The sun rules the ego. So we start to kind of grow into our sun signs, our star signs a little bit more. And then we start to develop, we've got a Mars sign and now we've got a Venus sign. So how we start to make friends may come out a different way and so on. So if you've got a twin, they've got the exact same set as their twin, but they might get put in different classes at school. They might have a separate group of friends at school. Suddenly it's not just mum and dad and they're treating us the same, hopefully, it's now we've got like separate lives and someone just has a slightly different interest in a different TV program. As a kid, and that is all going into their brain and it's affecting them completely differently. So by the time they're 15, 16, 20, they've been adapted by their environment. There's so many ways and energy can come out, and often your environment can really affect how it's going to come out.
So much.
So again, it's a bit psychological, it's almost like a bit of a psychology session, this.
Right. I love it.
But you can see it in the chart, it's mirrored in there. Even if you take a time twin, like we said earlier, Chaplin and Hitler, their lives completely different. But you look on paper, they should be very similar. They should be experiencing things the same, but they're not. However, caveat to that, with twins and time twins, you will see some form of parallels within their lives. Because it's inevitable. They're going to have transits at the same time, hit the same planets. So yes, it might come out a different way. Like the phrase same but different?
Yeah.
Yes. It's that. That's all it is.
It's so multifaceted. And the environment shapes everything. Even if you're in the same house, your micro environment and the friends, that's completely different. That's so
everyone has an effect on you. You don't realize it. Every teacher that you ever had, every friend, every group you've been in, it can bring out so many different parts of your signs and those planets that are in, big for you. And then, you do get twins who are born even an hour or two apart. And then the differences are even bigger because your rising sign could change. One twin could be like at the very end of a Capricorn rising and the next twin is now an Aquarius rising and boom, completely different lives and different personalities. So even more, the more time apart you were born, the bigger the difference is.
And if you're on a different day, your numerology changes. Oh my
God. Yeah, you
so
bring
many
in
layers.
other things as well. Yeah, exactly.
So Suzy, you mentioned transits, and I just want to get a clear understanding of that. Is this when planets are, I don't know, what are transits?
So a transit is essentially, so how I mentioned like my example of Saturn being in Pisces right now up in the sky. And so, if you've got a Pisces placement, you're going to be affected. So what happens is when Mars, we'll take a Mars transit, for example. So if Mars makes contact with one of your natal planets by degree, then it will form an aspect at some point. So, for example, I've got Mars in Scorpio. So I know that when Mars is in Taurus, I'm going to get this Mars opposite Mars because they're opposite signs. And I have to wait for it to get to around 22 degrees because that's the degree that my Mars is. So it comes down to degrees. It's like very specific. It's not just Mars is in Taurus, great in opposition. I've got to wait for it to get to 22 degrees. And then I can go, oh, there's my transit chart. Yeah, that's why I'm feeling a bit frustrated today. That's why everyone's annoying me. That's why I just cut my finger and stubbed my toe in the same day. Like, it's just it's like one of those things. It's like, so that's like what we'd call a shorter transit, where it might last for a few days, a week, maybe, depending on retrograde movements as well. You know, obviously sometimes you can get like crossover 3 times and it just won't leave you alone. And then you get fast transits that we're all aware of, particularly with the lunar cycle. So the moon is just constantly going round. I mean, every month it's in Scorpio, every month it's in Taurus, you know, it's just there all the time. So that's a really, really quick, and it's only in a sign for 2.5 days. So the moon just whizzes through every 2.5 days. The moon is making an aspect to all of your placements all the time. So you kind of, you feel them, but you don't, if that makes sense. And then you've got the slowest of the slow, which is Pluto, out on the sticks there, like right at the end, taking all the time in the world to go through just one sign. So Pluto, it's very rare that you'll get a sort of Pluto transit to like a really personal planet. But when you do, that's going to stick around for a while. That's like a big 1 to 2 year process.
Wow. Because
Pluto always retrogrades as well. So then everything in between, you know, you've got like Mars transits a week or 2, Jupiter transits maybe a month or 2 of their, you know, and that's constant. That's happening all the time, hitting different things. And sometimes you have a chart where, do you know what, all these transits are okay. They're nice. They're harmonious, as we call them. They're making harmonious aspects. What's interesting is that you can track world events and things that have happened through history, and you will see repetitions of cycles because the planets are on their cycles and they usually come back around eventually. Even Pluto, it may take 200, I think it's 48 years. I might have to look that up afterwards to make sure I was right, but it's about 248 years to go through the 12 zodiac signs.
Wow.
To even return to where it got to, you know, and it's just a long blooming transit. It's ridiculous. And so, you know, you've got all these things going on. And I remember reading one case study, and, you know, it's something that makes you believe in astrology, whether it's your birth chart, whether it's something that you go, it clicks and you suddenly believe. Mm-hmm. This is what made me believe. It was one of the things. So the Titanic.
Ooh,
that, yeah.
Girl, you're speaking my language. I love
thought that would get you, Heidi. Yes. I had a feeling. I was like, she's got some theories about this. I know she has.
Tell me more.
So when I looked up the Titanic, all I remember was Neptune stuck out like a sore thumb. And there were transits involving Neptune that A, obviously involved the sea, and B, it involves almost like, so Neptune is like the planet of confusion and disillusion, and there was a lot of confusion at the time, and still to this day, I would argue, in the mystery of it all. In the, well, how did that actually happen? Like, how did we allow, you know, that boat to not be completed? I mean, I've watched documentaries about it. I don't believe it was built properly in the first place. I think there were too many things that went wrong. Communication was going wrong. I would love to know if there was a Mercury retrograde at that time. You know, something was happening, and Neptune was quite crucial in a lot of the transits going on in that time. And even the transits of the boat being built back in the shipyard. I mean, there's a lot of astrology to it, and I would urge everyone to go and look that up, which I know I can tell Heidi's going to do.
I'm already on
She's
it.
like at the camera and just like, I'm taking this mentally down. So it's things like that. So that was a big one. And then you can see it even with, like, for you guys, something like 9/11 was such a huge like thing for America and for the world, to be honest. Even over here, we still like can't get our heads around it. And again, you look up the astrology, there were these like lineups of planets and like these transits that were happening, but even just the nodes were in Gemini and Sagittarius. And just on a really, really basic level, I'm not saying that every time they're in Gemini and Sagittarius, which is like they're quite often there, that this is going to happen. But along with the other astrology, it kind of was a big concoction. What happened was Gemini is obviously the sign of the twins, right? You know where I'm going with this? Twin towers.
Oh, gosh.
Hello.
It's clicking. It's clicking.
And Sagittarius was the other node, which is obviously long distance travel, usually made on planes or boats, you know, some form of travel, and foreign lands, foreign cultures, which was partly the issue, obviously, with who did the attack. So, yeah, that's on a really, really basic level there. And then when you add on all the combustion, so that's another thing about transits and events happening in people's lives, because I don't want people to be worried as well with this. Like, you have one Saturn transit, your life's going to fall apart. Like, no. Generally speaking, when people have really big bad things happen, a bit like in the world, when one big bad thing happens, they don't happen every day. We don't turn on the news and there's a 9/11 happening every day. Right. It's thankfully it's not like that. It's it's spread out among countries, among years, and it's the same in your chart. It's always a build-up. So you do get bad things happen to people and you just feel awfully sorry for them. And then when you look at the chart, usually it's like, well, Saturn was doing this, but also Pluto was here. And then also the eclipses were hitting a crucial point in their chart, and then also you had Mars making a critical degree to their moon. And then before you know it, it was a build-up of all of it. And it was never just one thing. So that's more of to put people at ease and just think, oh my God, Saturn's here, that's it. I'm just going to hibernate for a year and not go out the front door, because it's like, no, trust me, you'd have to have a lot happen in that chart for the conditions to be right, for that to even occur. And even then it might not occur. It's like the weather. Everything has to come together. And I think, I like that word conditions. The conditions have to be just right.
So maybe using your transits looking back in the past to see what has happened and affected it, instead of more so like a future predictive tool. That's probably too fear-based.
It depends who you are. I think I know an astrologer. In fact, I'm going to shout her out because she is great. Her name's Sophie Williams. Sophie Williams Astrology on Instagram. She doesn't track her transits anymore. She used to. Yeah. And the reason she doesn't is because she does have Scorpio. She's a Scorpio moon, I believe. And she found that she became obsessed with it. So again,
I could see that
kind of shadow side of Scorpio. And I am the same. I am absolutely obsessed with all elements of astrology, as you can tell. And, once I get into something, I go down that rabbit hole, there's no pulling me back. And for her, it became very addictive.
Right.
And everyone's different. I personally do look at my transits a lot. Yeah. And I do very much go into them. I do them for my partner. I do them for friends. People call me and go, what's happening in my chart today? And I'm like, oh, hi, friend. And I just send her a quick text back like, well, it's probably Saturn. Does that answer your question? Yeah. So, it can be really helpful to validate how you're feeling on any given day or month or whatever. But generally speaking, fear-based astrology can take over some people. And I would steer clear of that.
Yeah. Is there a planet that is the most powerful or impactful on people's lives?
I love that question. I think, so basically we all have a planet that actually is more important to us personally, depending on your chart. So I would say there's a couple of answers I could give, and I'll give both because I've been doing that all along. So number one is we have what's called a chart ruler, and that is the sign that rules your chart is your rising sign. The planetary ruler of that sign is considered your chart ruler. That planet, I would say, generally speaking, is really important for us all individually. Be that transiting or be that in our natal chart, and then transits happening to that planet. You'll find big transformation happen when that planet is hit, because that's ruling everything, essentially. And then I would also say, just from was your question sort of like the most important planet or more like the most challenging planet? Or
sure,
which side of most disruptive planet?
Yeah. Disruptive. Okay. So in that case, what astrology has done over the years, particularly this comes from more Hellenistic ancient astrology, is that they split the planets up into what we call benefics and malefics. And I'm sure you can guess which one is the nice one and which one is the mean one.
Thanks to Maleficent.
Exactly. So the malefic planets are Saturn and Mars. And then in more recent times, we've added Pluto to that list.
Oh, poor Pluto.
And then the benefics are Venus and Jupiter. Mercury is just considered a neutral planet. It's neither good nor bad. It doesn't really bring any challenge per se, apart from when it's retrograding.
Yes, communication.
Exactly. So that's how they've split them up. Mars is often overlooked because it's not spoken about in terms of its ability to crash and burn.
Yeah.
It's the ruler of both Scorpio and Aries. And I'm sure you can see those traits in both of those kinds of people. And it comes out in different ways, but it's there. Particularly Aries, it comes out a lot more in terms of the crashing, and then maybe the burning is more Scorpio, perhaps.
Burn it down, start anew.
So okay, I'll go through in order then. So we'll start with Aries. So Aries is ruled by Mars. What's next? Taurus is ruled by Venus. Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Cancer is ruled by the moon. Leo is ruled by the sun. Virgo is, and this is a dual rulership, is also ruled by Mercury.
Oh.
But obviously, Virgos and Geminis are very different people, but you can almost see the duality then of Mercury and how it can come out in a Gemini energy, which is quite scattered. It wants information from lots of different places. It's not necessarily very good at organizing them, but it just has all the information. Whereas Virgo is more analytical side of Mercury. And then you've got Libra, which is another dual one, also ruled by Venus. But again, very different to Taurus ruled. And then you come to Scorpio, which we've already mentioned, is ruled by Mars. Scorpio is where it gets interesting because now we have a co-ruler. So Mars is in the captain seat, and in ancient astrology, they only used Mars because they could only see Mars. They didn't know Pluto existed. So obviously, when we discovered these planets later on, we had to assign them because we were thinking, hang on a minute, it's got to be somewhere. So we looked at Pluto and we thought, Pluto's pretty destructive. That's got to be Scorpio. We're assigning that to Scorpio, hands down. So Scorpio has two rulers, and I would say I would place a little bit more precedence on Mars, just because, again, that is the ancient traditional ruler. I'm not saying Pluto isn't important, but I do think its effects are lesser than the Martian effects. And then we come to Sagittarius, which is ruled by Jupiter. And Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. And now again, we're going to come to dual rulership. So when we get to Aquarius, is also ruled by Saturn. But again, in a very different way. So I would argue that Aquarius takes on the more detached, the more looking at things from a bird's eye view, taking itself away, thinking about everything very rationally. Mm-hmm. And then you've got the Saturn coming out in a sort of colder sense in Capricorn. And I don't mean cold as in cold people. I mean cold as in protection almost. It's a very protective sign. And it doesn't like to go really soppy with things, particularly in love. If you have like a Venus in Capricorn or a moon in Capricorn, you're not going to go like goo over love. Like you're not really going to be like, oh my God, it's so soppy and so romantic. You're not really going to go down that route because it's just that kind of, and some people will label that as cold, and it's not cold. It's just, I don't go in for that. Like I will tell you, I like you, I love you, and I will be with you, but I'm not, I'm not going to put rose petals on the bed, basically. Yes, so, yes. It's that energy. Exactly. It's very practical. It's very practical love. Yeah. So then that's how you can see the same planetary ruler, but come out in very different ways for different signs. Where are we? So that was Aquarius. So then the very last one is Pisces, which is also a dual with a co-ruler. And actually, can I go back? I did forget a co-ruler. How could I forget? That's just typical. That is just typical Uranus energy, that is. So the co-ruler of Aquarius is also Uranus. So you've got Saturn, very sensible planet, very sort of rational. And then you've got Uranus coming in with its unpredictability, its uniqueness. I would say if you've ever met an Aquarius or anyone with an Aquarius placement, you will know they are unique.
Our dad.
Yep.
They always have to be a little bit different. Even if they've just got one placement in Aquarius, they can't just go down the normal path. There's something that has to be different about what they're doing. That's why that's the co-ruler. Because again, someone discovered Uranus and said, yeah, that's the Aquarius folk for sure. Yeah. So they label, they got that label. And then finally, you've got Pisces, which is also ruled by Jupiter. So same as Sagittarius, but again, very different expressions of Jupiter. And it also has a co-ruler, which is Neptune. Neptune is like very spiritual, very boundaryless. So if you are a Pisces out there, I'm a Pisces moon. I can, and Same. I know Heidi as well. So we can really vouch for that kind of spiritual floatiness that comes from the Neptune rulership. And and spiritual connection. I mean, we're on this podcast that kind of 2 out of 3 of us have a Pisces moon. So that kind of says a lot. And then also the Jupiter influence. So Jupiter is a very spiritual planet, and it does tap into the higher knowledge. And obviously higher knowledge can be one or the other. For Sagittarians, it's more about exploring. I need to get out there, find out what the world has to offer me, and find all these different cultures and these different experiences, because I need to know more and grow. Jupiter's the planet of expansion. So you're expanding everything, your mind, your worldview, your opinions, everything, and your education as well. But then when it's in Pisces, it's more, I'm expanding into something else, another world. You know, you're kind of coming out of the physical world and you're going into another world in your own head or spiritual land. So that is the 12 signs. I was very long-winded.
That's amazing.
I could have really just listed them all off, but you know, I have to go into things.
It makes sense because I was, you know, as you're describing all these things, and I'm like, okay, Pisces moon, Sagittarius rising. I got a lot of Jupiter, and I'm like very much expansion. I'm a life path 5, so that's all about
Love that.
growth and expansion. So like, okay, this is tracking.
Yeah. And that's the thing. You often see different, you know, like numerology, life path numbers, astrology. There's all kind of human design, you know, that's quite big. I know for you guys in America, it's not so big here, but I know it's a lot bigger over there. Like you can see it all kind of, they all fit in. They're all saying the same thing, but in different ways. So to me, I love that when I see that pattern of form.
So cool.
Because it just validates what we're saying.
That is so cool. Okay, random question, but can anyone have all of their placements or all of their houses in the same placement? Like all Scorpio?
Yeah, so you can't really have the houses all be grouped in one sign, but you can have a lot of planets in a single sign.
Okay.
And 3 or more planets in the same sign, you have what they call a stellium.
I've heard that word. I have no idea what it meant, but now I do. Thank you.
Yes, and it just means that you've got like a lot of stuff going on in that sign. So you're like heavily influenced by that sign's nature and its characteristics. So I don't know how much our politics gets over to you guys, but we had a prime minister a while back during COVID actually called Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys heard about him. People either loved or hated him, or there wasn't much indifference. But when I looked at it, I knew I had to look up his chart. I mean, he was in office and I was like, this guy, like, you know, anyone in the UK listening, you'll know what I mean. Just, oh my God, he was the most scatty.
Oh my God.
Anyway, so I looked up his chart. I think he's got like a Scorpio moon or something, but every other planet is in Gemini.
Oh,
I mean, I'm talking like Sun, Mercury, Mars, Venus.
Wow.
Like maybe even another one. Just this huge Gemini stellium. And I thought, well, that explains it. That explains all I needed to know about our prime minister at the time, you know?
Gosh.
Yeah. So if you ever meet someone who is just almost like a caricature of that sign, they've probably got a stellium in that sign, because
super cool.
they just cannot be anything other than that sign. You know, they just, it overtakes.
So
yeah. So yes, you can. Is to answer to your question is, you can have as many planets as you want.
That's
in that
so interesting.
sign.
This for sure makes me want to look up some of my friends' charts.
Just
in case.
Do it. Do it, because it's hilarious.
Well, on that note, I really want to dive into your specialty, Suzy, of couples and relationships in astrology, because I didn't know that you can create a new chart when you're with someone. Can you explain how that works?
Absolutely. So I think I will explain Synastry first. So when you meet someone, you know how some people you meet, and not just romantic here, anyone, but particularly romantic, we'll focus on. And you just automatically know you get on.
Yeah.
Like day one, date number 1, we gel, like there's chemistry, whatever it is. And it's like, you just know, you just don't know why you just know. And then other people you meet, and it's like, say you go on a date, right? And you ordered the drink, you sit down at the table and your brain is already going, nah, nah, I'm not really, I haven't even heard him talk much yet, but I've already decided like that I'm not into this. That's something we call synastry. Okay. And it's basically, if you had your chart and then you got some tracing paper and you put their chart over yours, so you could still see yours underneath, and then you could see where their planets fall in your chart and how they aspect your planets, and vice versa, how you aspect theirs. And that's how you interact interact? You know, like, do you rub each other up the wrong way all the time? Do you miscommunicate all the time? Or do you communicate really well? And, you know, there's chemistry there from certain placements, and you get each other on a moral level, on an intellectual level, and it's all happening. And then other people you meet or you're friends with, or bad dates or bad relationships, and you look back and think, God, the synastry must have been well off. Like, you know, like that was not working. The astrology wasn't astrologying. So it's kind of that synastry. And then what happens is, say you become a couple and you say, right, we're going to be a thing. You can look up what's called a composite chart. Now, you actually have a composite chart with anyone in the world. You can pick a celebrity if you want. I mean, Heidi, I wish I knew Taylor Swift's birth time, because I am so
I do too.
I need to know mine and her synastry. And I need to know our composite, because like, are we ever going to meet? Like, do I get to meet this woman? Like, like so many questions. So you can do it with anyone. That's my point. Like, you can have a composite with anyone, like friend, family, like even you can go back like and pick like, I don't know. So there's a story like that I heard, and this historian was like a writer, and they wrote books about history, and they wrote a book about William Shakespeare. Now he's long gone, like, you know, however many hundreds of years ago gone. And this person just wrote a book about him, whatever, fine, published it, you know, it was well received. But what actually it was, if you pull up William Shakespeare's chart and this person's chart and make a composite, there was a transit to that composite chart that kind of showed these two people having a moment together, even though they're dead and apart over centuries.
What?
They still kind of were having a moment, a shared moment, because this person wrote a book about their life and them. So it is shared in a way, even though you're on different timelines. So again, timelines can kind of merge as well, which is kind of cool. So going off topic slightly there, but I kind of wanted to show you how you can have a composite with anyone you choose to look up and have a composite with. You can have it. It does get, obviously, if you don't know their birth time, I'm assuming either they knew Shakespeare's exact birth time, I don't know if that's recorded anywhere, or if they didn't, they looked at it on a very basic composite level. But generally speaking, you're going to need their birth time to make it fairly accurate, I would say. So what happens is you take your birth time and your partner's birth time, you put it into a calculator. They used to do all this by hand, by the way. I don't know how they used to do it before computers, but put it into a calculator online, and you get what's called a composite chart, which is like a brand new birth chart. It looks brand new. It's got a different sun sign, most likely. You know, it's got a different moon sign, got different aspects. And that is the relationship chart. That is the chart of your relationship. Now, not you as an individual and how you interact. That's going to be a synastry. You know, how you interact, how you argue, how your chemistry comes out. That's synastry. Composite is like you two as now a unit. You've come together. You've created something completely unique. Your two energies, your two auras. And now that is subject to its own little world. So you know how sometimes you see a couple, like maybe friends that are in couples, and you see them separate and then you see them together. Sometimes they're completely different together, aren't they? Yeah. I mean, you guys probably even feel this in your own like homes, like, and it's not that you're doing it on purpose. You don't realize you're doing it. You're just part of a different unit when you're together and you're operating as a couple. So the composite explains that. So your composite will have its own rising sign. So when, like Heidi, if you walk into a room, people see Sagittarius. They immediately tell you're a Sagittarius rising. If you walk into the room with Ken, now you may not have that. You know, there's going to be a different vibe about the two of you walking into that room and announcing that you're a couple. Completely different vibe.
Wow, so this is fascinating.
Composite rising. You can have a new composite sun sign, which is different to your natal sun. Your natal sun is like your individual characteristics, your ego, your own potential purpose on this planet, you know, what you're here to achieve and make and do. Whereas your composite sun is now, well, what's the relationship here to achieve as the two of us? What will we here to do? And for some people, you know, that's, you know, they might have sun in the fifth. They're here to have children and have a big family together, you know, and that might be their ultimate path and purpose of being together. Like, for example, I'll give you an example with my own, because it's easier to talk about it in a real life, you know, setting. I'm a Scorpio sun and my partner is an Aquarius sun. So together we have a Sagittarius composite sun. Now, just an extra note on composites as well. Sometimes there's elements, you know, like fire, earth, water, etc., that you have in your composite that neither of you may even have in your birth charts, which is what happened to me and my partner. So I've got no fire, and I mean no fire. And he's got no fire whatsoever either. So as two individuals, we're like the least fiery couple you could ever think would be together. Yeah. In our composite, now we've got an Aries moon and a Sagittarius sun and Mercury. So it's like, now we've got all this fire in our relationship that we've now got to navigate as two non-fiery people. And you find that sometimes a couple, like there'll be a lot of fire in one person, not much in the other. And then in their composite, there's some fire. You will probably find that the fire person relates a lot better to that relationship and its dynamics than the person who's got no fire in their chart. Oh my God. Because naturally they're not good at relating to fire. So that like some people were like, well, I don't know why you find this relationship so hard. Like, I'm chilling, I'm good. And the other person's like, you don't get it. Like, this is so rare. And it's probably because, one of them is gelling with the energy and one of them isn't gelling as much. And again, this isn't about being together, not being together, breaking up with people because your composite doesn't look great. It's not about that. I never go into a reading and say, I'm going to tell you whether to break up or not. Like, that's not what we're here to do. We're here to just show you the energy. And it's up to you how you work with it. Like I could say to my partner, right, that's it. We got a fire composite. Get lost. Like we can't deal with this. I don't see how this will ever work. But actually we just deal with it in our own way. Like we've actually really embraced our Sagittarius composite sun without even realizing. Like I think one of our very first, so we got together in like the September, and then in the October, he'd asked me to go to Spain that January with him to meet his mum.
Very Sagittarius of you.
Who lives in Spain. And invited me on this big holiday that we had to start planning. And I'd only known the guy like 4 weeks. And it was just very like Sagittarian, like grab the opportunity, go abroad, and it's like, I wouldn't have necessarily done that on my own. And he might not have necessarily done that on his own, but together we do it.
I love it.
Yeah, that's a composite.
Heidi, we should get our composite done.
Oh, definitely.
And can it tell you, like you said before, when things may happen in your relationship, like timelines as well?
Yes. So with the composite, because it's its standalone chart, there are transits to it. So what's going on up there, like it's hitting your natal chart, it's going to hit your composite as well. And you can see, like with me and my partner, Uranus was actually quite involved in starting our relationship. So when we met, or at least started talking, we met online. So we spoke for a bit first and then we met. And Uranus was actually transiting, and you might recognize this, Heidi, because you had a similar natal transit, was transiting the IC of our composite chart, which is like this line at the bottom. And it's like the kind of where you're from, where you're coming from, like your ancestry, your kind of home and family living situation. But it kind of transited this really crucial angle in the chart, like literally around the time we met. And I was like, well, that means something. And it transpired that we had been neighbours for about 18 years.
Stop.
And had never met. And I mean, not next door neighbours, but like literally I could walk to his house in about 20 seconds if I sped walk.
Wow. That's wild.
And then so these little things, like, and it probably just took that Uranus transit to go, I'm sick of these guys not meeting. Just force it to happen. Like it was almost like, I don't know if we could have met before that. I don't know if it would have worked, because I think sometimes in timing in life, you have got to wait for the transits, guys. Like, like it's even with things like marriage or things like taking that next step in a relationship, especially when it's early days, like maybe you've just got to wait for that 7th house transit, guys. Like maybe you got to wait for Saturn to get there or for Uranus to get there. It's kind of, so yeah, you can absolutely track things.
Wow. I feel like if we get our composite chart read by you, Suzy, you're going to just tell us a story.
Yeah.
She does. She literally does.
It's the story of your life.
I love that.
Essentially, astrology doesn't change your life. It is your life.
Ooh, yeah.
So, Suzy, what would you say to the astrology girl that loves to look up the zodiac sign of the person they're about to start dating to see if they're compatible? Because we've always been that girl.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. I just think, unfortunately, it comes back to the popular culture of sun sign astrology. And that's the issue. I mean, it's not an issue to look up the birth chart of the person you're interested in.
Right, sure. Please give me all your information. I need your birthday. I need your time. I need your location before we have a date.
By the way, nice to meet you.
Yep.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah, please don't base it on sun signs, because in sun sign astrology, me and my partner clash, apparently, and it's it's rubbish.
Okay, now I'm curious. What's one of the things that you look for in a couple's chart when you're reading it, or if there's something that's really surprising that you've ever seen in someone's chart?
I think there's nothing specifically surprising necessarily about individual charts, because they're all so different. But I think what's surprising is the themes I've seen occur consistently in different people's charts, in different couples. So there's a lot of synastry that can indicate things like marriage, longevity, and one of them, it doesn't have to be this, but one of the ones I have seen is Venus conjunct Jupiter. That's quite a common theme for marriage, for people getting along, really gelling, just having that sense of we ought to be together, like that kind of pull. It can, it's not to say you're going to be together forever. It just means that there is potential there to get married. That the potential is there. It's up to the individuals as to whether that works or not, So that's one I've seen. And also there's something to do with chemistry that's very specific. What I'm talking about is Venus and Mars. Now, you probably understand that to a point, because in mythology and, Mars is men, Venus is women. Like that's the Venus goddess, Mars the god of war. Like that's always a thing. So when I see Venus in Mars, particularly square, I've seen couples that are like, they really fancy each other. Like they fancy the pants off each other. And there's a real physical, you get where I'm going with this, like a real physical connection between them.
Oh my gosh. I'm pretty sure that our grandma had the Venus square. Grammy and her,
for sure.
Well, basically our step grandfather, she remarried when she was in her 70s. And I have never seen a 70-year-old woman all over a man before.
Oh my God. They could not get enough of each other. It was like goals. I was like relationship goals.
It was goals, but also it was kind of like, Grammy, ew, get a room.
I know.
Oh my God.
No,
Well, first of all, thank you so much for sharing all of this. It's been so fascinating,
so helpful.
And since this episode is coming out on New Year's Day, I kind of want to zoom out to the collective.
Yeah.
Is there anything that the astrological calendar says for the collective in 2026?
So what's happening, I would say the major thing happening just collectively next year is that there's a lot of outer planets that are shifting sign, which obviously doesn't always happen. Like it's a big thing. So we've got Neptune is going into Aries in 2026. So it's kind of shifted, and we've been in Pisces now for, I think it was like around 2010, like kind of that 2009, 2010 era. So we've had it for a long time, all through the 10s, like half of the 20s already. So that's a big shift, Neptune going into Aries.
Okay. So what does that look like when it's shifted?
So Neptune is a lot of like media, like a kind of like the arts, like what we see on our music videos, on telly and music particularly, and poetry and kind of that kind of floaty, nice Piscean, Neptunian vibe, that kind of stuff.
So you said it's going from Pisces to Aries?
Into Aries. So things are going to shift. So I would say we've had a lot over the last decade and a half of, I don't know, I think Avatar came out when, I can't remember the year, if anyone wants to try and remember that whilst we're talking.
10?
Yeah, 2010, there you go. So the ingress into Pisces, that Neptune into Pisces, brought us this alien world, like blue particularly, which is a color of, I would argue is a kind of Neptunian color, the sea. It was just very Neptunian in the way it was like the 3D, everyone had the 3D glasses, didn't they?
Yes.
It distorted the view. Like if we think Neptune rules distortion as well. So like that's a really way of thinking about Avatar. That's quite a cool like way to see how it plays out on a global scale. Like that went huge at the time. When it's in Aries, I would expect it to be a bit more concrete. Like maybe we're going to see a bit more, because obviously Aries is ruled by Mars. So now we're coming into a bit more of a, not fighting time, but like a bit more of a assertive time in that sense.
Yeah. Speaking our truth, maybe?
Yeah, perhaps. So as a collective, and maybe that will come out in our artistry, like the artists will start to the songs that are released, the movies in the theatre that are going to come out, like all this stuff is going to start edging more toward that Aries theme than it is what we've had for the last however long.
I think we need that. I think that's good.
Yeah, that's how I see it happening. Obviously, it can come out in many ways, but that's my interpretation. We've also got Saturn, which has been doing a bit of back and forth lately because of its retrograde cycle, but it's going to fully go into Aries and not go back into Pisces now, because it did dip into Aries a little bit in the spring and summer this year, but only temporarily. Then it went straight back into Pisces on a retrograde.
Oh, wow.
Saturn has just gone direct in the last few weeks. So now it's making its way back through Pisces, and it will hit Aries in February until 2028, I think, like 27, 28 with retrogrades. It's going to be in Aries. So it's kind of in a different place. So again, you've got two planets now shifting into Aries. So now the Aries energy in the world is almost hotting up a little bit. I mean, Aries is the god of war, so I'm not trying to,
Super.
Ruled by the god of war, should I say? But I'm just saying, like, let's all be a little bit cautious about the Aries energy out there. Like, everyone is going to be shouting to get their point across and probably step up a bit and be heard and be assertive, which is great. Yeah. But at the same time, there needs to be a level of capping that. Like, don't be too angry. Don't be to the point where you cut off your nose to spite your face, like that kind of energy, which unfortunately I do think some world leaders and people probably won't take that advice and probably will just storm forward with their ideas. But then on the other hand, perhaps other people may storm forward with their counter ideas. So, and hence that kind of vision of war to a point, because then you get two people butting heads. Yeah. And one may be right and one may be wrong. Maybe they're both right, maybe they're both wrong. But, they kind of, there's probably a butting of heads, I would argue. And then we've got Uranus. We've got that has dipped into Gemini already prior, but then it's actually back in Taurus at the moment, where it takes about 7 years roughly for Uranus to go through a sign. It's quite a long transit. So, but what it's going to do is it's going to go into Gemini fully and not go back into Taurus next year. Uranus is like the planet of like, it's innovation, it's technology. You often find when Uranus swaps signs, things in technology completely shift in how and things suddenly come about that weren't about before, inventions in new areas of life.
Interesting.
Now we're going to go into Gemini, which is the planet of communication, like the sign of communication. So we're going to see a real change in how we communicate with each other, probably inventions around that sort of vibe, like whether it's going to be new ways of messaging, new ways of Zooming and doing what we're doing here, like connecting with each other. The media will probably come into that a little bit, and like how they get messages across as well.
Sure.
Probably faster, like in terms of information speeding up, because Uranus has a tendency to make things just suddenly a lightning bolt out of nowhere. So you'll probably wake up one day and this thing has taken off and you're just like, where did that come from? I thought they didn't, were they even developing that yesterday? Like, it's just suddenly here in our lives. And all these sort of new computers, I imagine, will come out, new technology. Suddenly, are we all going to have like moon boots or something? Like, I don't know. Like, you never know. You just don't know how fast technology is going to move, because it's moved so fast already. And then another big, I would say one of the big ones that I quite like, it's not as big a transit because it's only there for about a year, but is Jupiter's going to move from Cancer into Leo. So it's, if you do have any Leo placements, or if you have any fire sign placements in general, and even if you don't have planets there, anyone, if you look at the houses where you've got Leo in particular, even if it's empty, look at that house. Jupiter's just going to bring some like niceness to that part of your life. Like, that's a nice transit. Jupiter's expansion, Jupiter's luck, like Jupiter rules good luck and good fortune, is going to be a nice time for that part of your life. So I'm excited about that personally.
Suzy, you are so knowledgeable on all of this. It's
Seriously.
So fascinating.
Thank you.
Okay. I know we talked about how you shouldn't just rely on a sun sign, but I want to do a really quick rapid fire with you on
the
zodiac signs. Just because you're an astrologer, gotta ask.
I have my opinions, guys.
Yes, I want to hear them.
Let's do it.
The first thing that comes to your mind, just say it.
Okay, go.
What is the most misunderstood zodiac sign?
Oh, Aquarius.
One zodiac sign that screams main character energy.
Leo.
Yeah. I love it.
Just straight away.
What zodiac sign has alarm bells in relationships?
As in, they're the alarm bell or they experience alarm bells?
Maybe they experience alarm bells.
Okay, Pisces.
Wait, which one has the alarm? Which one is the alarm bell?
I would say unevolved. I'm trying not to be mean to anyone. It's good to talk about the shadow side of science, you know, the shadow. I think Scorpio.
Yeah,
unevolved, for sure.
Like it.
That was kind of my thought, but I'm not the professional.
No, as a Scorpio, I can,
All right. Which zodiac sign is the most magnetic in relationships?
I'm going to go Sagittarius.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which sign falls in love the fastest?
Pisces. Probably why they have those alarm bells.
Yeah. Which sign takes the longest to commit?
That varies, but I'm gonna go because I haven't said it yet. I'm gonna say Taurus.
Okay.
Yeah, they take their time with most things. But yeah, Taurus.
And which one is the most loyal once they're locked in?
Scorpio.
Hey.
Yeah, absolutely. Ride or die energy for sure.
Yes. Well, I'm going to end on that one because that's my favorite. So.
Yeah, that's a nice way. Let's big ourselves up.
Yes, that was beautiful.
Oh.
Thank you so much, Suzy. I could literally keep talking to you for the rest of the day.
Oh, same, you guys.
Thank you, Suzy. I look forward to seeing what 2026 is going to be like.
Me too.
Woo!
I hope it's good for you guys.
Yes,
you too. I feel like I just went to a lecture for astrology. I have learned so much. I saw you taking copious notes, Heidi.
I have never taken so many notes for during an entire interview. And it's fast. It was completely fascinating to me. And I learned a lot. And yes, I definitely am at Astrology 101 as well, because I didn't know a lot of that.
If you're at Astrology 101, I am at Astrology -101. The whole time she was talking, all I wanted to do is just go check my chart because I'm like, how have I not done that? How do I not memorize this?
Because it's so complicated, I've done that before, gone to the free birth chart thing. I look at it, and of course there's a typed up, but it's very generic. It doesn't look at everything together, which is why Suzy's so brilliant, because she can read it like a book and tell it like a story. I've had my chart read. My husband's had his chart read by Suzy, and both of us just had the same result where we walked away with just such clarity and just confirmation of, okay, I'm not crazy, that this is happening because of this,
Yeah.
Like she was saying, astrology has gone so much, it's always been so much deeper than just your sun sign, right?
Yep.
Just the one thing. It's so much more complicated and intricate and beautiful than just that.
I honestly have always thought, oh, I'm just a Scorpio. That's me. And in high school, there was a guy that had my same birthday, and we are not alike at all. And I was always frustrated that we were both Scorpios. I'm like, how the hell am I like him? This makes no sense.
Yes.
Something I also loved was learning about transits, and I never thought about that as a way to go back and look at your timelines about when you've had maybe some trauma in your life. Like right now, I need to go check out my transits for 2009 because that was a shit show year.
That was a year. That was quite a year for you.
But it was also the best thing that ever happened to me. So it was
needed to happen.
It was so good. It was so good.
Very interesting to look at. Well, we've got homework.
We have so much homework, and I bet you do too.
So besides just looking up your own birth chart, make sure you please go and check out Suzy. All of her links are in the show notes. SaturnStoneAstro.com. She's got many offerings, but what she really wants to focus on for 2026 is these relationships, the Synastry and the Composite charts. You guys will not be, oh God, what's the word?
Disappointed?
Thank you. You guys will not be disappointed with any of her readings, but February is coming up, Valentine's Day. If you guys are curious about you and your partner, that could be a fun little Valentine's Day gift or a pre-Valentine's Day gift as well. So check her out. Follow her on Instagram, TikTok. All her links are in the show notes.
All right, Heidi, it is 2026. This is going to be your first tarot reading of the year. Please let it be good.
This feels like so much pressure. Oh my gosh. What's our year
pressure.
like, guys? What are the
Should we
cards
do it
gonna
for the
say?
year or just for the week?
I kind of want to do it for the year, but now I'm nervous.
Okay. No pressure.
No pressure. I don't know which card deck I grabbed. I just grabbed one that felt right. So this is actually, I think it's an Oracle deck actually. I feel like I need one more. And of course, when I have one more, just like, a couple more come out.
Of course. Well, it is for the year. So.
It is for the year, so I'll be okay with this. Wow. Okay. Whew, this is all great things. All good things. All good things. It starts with the guinea pig, which is innocence. And to me, this is instantly giving me like trying new things vibe because it's like being the guinea pig. But it's also giving me childhood, like coming back to your childhood innocence, finding joy, finding the laughter, finding the funny, I think is going to be one of my big like pillars for 2026. Finding the funny.
And the funny should be a t-shirt, Heidi.
Yes, it should. Okay. Adding it to the list. The ever-growing list that we haven't even started making shirts. But I swear it's coming this year, guys. I swear we will.
It should.
So we start with innocence. And then we got the butterfly, which is evolution.
Great.
I think that we are obviously going to be going through this beautiful transformation, coming back to ourselves, I think coming back to our child. And then we also got the caterpillar, which is interesting because that goes with butterfly.
Oh, shit.
And the caterpillar is potential, right?
Wow.
So it's almost like we're harnessing our potential. Maybe some of us are going to withdraw this year. Maybe you have a 7-year in numerology this year and you're going to kind of withdraw. And
that was me last year. Don't worry, guys. It's worth it.
It's worth it. It's very much worth it. And then we also got the owl, which is wisdom. And this is, to me, all about divine intuition. It's the feminine. It's got a lot of lunar energy. Even on this card, you can see it. But this is just coming back to your truth, your inner truth and finding yourself. And we're ending with the snake transformation. So we got evolution and transformation, potential. It just feels like a big shift year. And that does really align with the collective, it being a 1 year, right? Starting new, new potential, new ideas, new transformations. And we're shedding all that skin that we had when we kind of left that 9 years. So I do feel like this is going to be a beautiful big year. All in all, it's going to be so aligned and so for our highest good. And I'm so fucking excited for this year. I'm so excited. I can just feel the energy. It's just going to be massive and wonderful.
Ending on a great note.
Great note. Starting on a great note. This is January now.
Starting on a great note, you guys. Well, until next time, it's your move, sis.
Make it count. Bye.
We are breaking down what astrology.
Breaking down that astrology, baby.
Whoa.